Welcome to what I drew this month, April. Hopefully, watching this will help you see some mistakes that we've all been making and correct them with me. Without further ado, we can start. The first drawing I did this month was this landscape drawing. I did it to explore colours, in this case blues and greens, and to develop my environmental design skills. I think the bottom half looks decent, the environmental design is most obvious here. The top half looks bland though, there just isn't anything there. I could probably crop it out, to be honest. Something I really tried to work on was fog. I've never been able to figure it out before, but for this drawing, I think I kind of got it for once. However, I do think that I should have added more texture to the trees. My shading brush has texture built in, but the fog covered it all up to the point that it looks flat. I do think that overall, the colours look good. The contrast is fine, while the greens, blues and browns complement each other well due to their low saturation. My avoidance of high saturated colours meant that I was able to effectively target certain parts of the drawing, such as the mud house on the right. However, I don't think that the colours worked well with the house on the left side of the drawing. I think I should have made the house bigger and used more saturated greens for the highlights to make it stand out better. Concluding this piece, I think that I did improve on my environmental design, especially considering some of my old backgrounds. I also think that the colours I chose lend well to the environmental design. It's not bright, youthful pink, it's dark, dingy blues and greens that help to tell my story. The next drawing I did was one of my OCs, Chanterelle. This piece's purpose was again to improve my colours, my character design, and as always, my anatomy. You might recognise her if you watched my last video on how I design my characters, as this was the drawing I presented throughout the video. Her design might look a bit weird, but hear me out for a moment. The strange purple-pink things sticking out of her dress are inspired from this image here, but I don't really like how they look. They were supposed to be balls, but they look so flat even with the shading. I think I might just get rid of them until I'm more confident in adding spheres and perspective. I definitely improved the anatomy in this drawing, and I'm proud to say that I did not have to trace the legs this time. I still think that the legs need some work, but an untraced leg is an achievement for me, so we're just gonna ignore that for a minute. I don't think that I executed the arm anatomy very well though. I tried incorporating a muscle that I'd never added to my drawings or studies before after watching a reel for anatomy. I'm not sure if it looks right though, or if it's even supposed to be there when the arm is in the place that I've drawn it in. I quite like the colours. I think that the greens, yellows, pink and purples all look good together. I also really like the dark, saturated, pinkish purplish colours for the head mushroom thing. This works well both colour-wise and character design-wise. It also improves her silhouette, which is something I really struggled with last month. Overall, I think that I did do well with the character design. It may look strange, but it tells the story that it needs to. The colours work well together and my anatomy is improving. Moving on to my next drawing. This drawing's purpose is for environmental design again, but also perspective. I doubt it's hard to tell that I haven't done much, if any, perspective practice, so this drawing has taken several hours longer to draw than expected. This drawing took a whole 16.5 hours to draw. I think this time could have been massively reduced if I had done some perspective studies beforehand. Since I didn't, I had to redraw one of the buildings 3 or 4 times. I also think that I should have used a reference. It likely would have meant that the perspective would have been less questionable. The character is my favourite part of the drawing though. There isn't much anatomy involved as she's quite covered up by her dress and hair, but the anatomy that I did do with her arms is pretty decent. For the environmental design, I really like the plants I made. However, I think that the walls of the background buildings are way too busy, especially the leftmost building. I think if I reduced the opacity of the dark reddish colour, then it would have fixed this issue. The characters are alright. I made sure that I didn't focus on them too much since I didn't want this drawing to take too long and they weren't the focus of it. But one thing I do want to point out is just how similar all of the people of colour characters I drew were. It seems like they all had the same hairstyle and colour, which makes them all look the same. I think I should have been more creative with the hairstyles and not have used the same colour as their skin tones. Overall, I like this drawing. As I said earlier, I definitely should have used a reference, and the perspective looks wrong because of that, but for my first attempt, it's not too bad. Comparing my art from March to April, you can definitely see an improvement in my anatomy. The arm anatomy is definitely better and the legs are incomparable between these two pieces. I also think comparing the two full drawings together, the hair of my latest drawing is much better. But I do think that my use of colours in my older full drawing is better, likely because I've got more practice of drawing with darker colours, so I have a better grasp on what dark colours look good together. I think to fix my colours, I need to work on my colour theory and to use more analogous colours like I did in the old drawing. Okay, so that was everything I've drawn this month. My favourite piece in this month was the character drawing I did of my OC Chanterelle. The visible improvement of my anatomy is very encouraging and I really like the colours I used in that drawing. Overall, I think that my goal for next month will be, to absolutely no one's surprise at all, to continue in working on anatomy. Yes, I say that every month. Yes, I'll probably say that next month too, but anatomy takes time to learn, so our goal for next month will be keeping on working on anatomy as usual. The next video will be me working on basic anatomy for once, so if you're interested in that, then feel free to subscribe to be notified when that comes out. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, I would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed to support my channel. I'm off the draw. This is what I drew this month, April. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.